Wow, this one is heavy.
Yeah.
We are diving into a Reddit post
Oh, yeah.
where someone's fiance gambled away a lot of money,
Eh.
like their wedding funds even.
It's,
It's a wild situation. And we're going to try to understand it better by looking at the posts and some of the responses.
Yeah, I think this
Yeah.
is a fascinating situation because it brings up so many difficult questions about love and trust and addiction.
Right.
And the reactions from the Reddit community really highlight how complex these issues are.
Yeah, they do. This post comes from the Arwa Doido subreddit,
Okay.
and the user is clearly looking for guidance. It's a long post, so we're going to break it down and see what we can learn from it.
Sounds good.
Before we jump in, I want to remind everyone listening that if you like what you hear, please subscribe to Voices of the Soul.
Yeah.
And check out our YouTube channel,
Please do.
Collage. We love bringing you these deep dives into complex topics, and your support means a lot.
We really appreciate you being here with us.
Okay, so let's get into it. The user explains that her fiance gambled away $20,000 over the past year.
Oh, wow.
To make matters worse, $4,000 of that was a gift from his father, specifically for their wedding, which is just 10 months away.
And what makes this even more concerning is that this isn't his first time struggling with gambling.
Right.
2 years ago, he gambled away $10,000.
Oh my gosh.
This pattern really points to a possible gambling addiction.
Right.
Which is often characterized by an inability to control impulses and a tendency to chase losses.
It's heartbreaking, right? You can feel the pain and confusion in her words. She describes their relationship as the healthiest one she's ever been in, talking about how loyal her fiancé is and how well they communicate.
Right.
But the fact that he hid his gambling for an entire year claiming he was trying to win the money back is a major red flag.
It's a classic example of the deceit and secrecy that often accompany addiction. He wasn't thinking rationally about the consequences of his actions or the impact on their future. He was driven by a compulsion to gamble, which can override logic and reason.
And the Reddit community had a lot to say about it.
I bet.
The responses range from leave him immediately to get him help and try to work through it.
Oh, wow.
Some people share their own personal experiences with gambling addiction,
Yeah.
which really painted a picture of how destructive it can be.
One commenter talked about losing her house and family because of her husband's gambling addiction.
Wow.
It was a stark reminder of the devastating consequences that can ripple outward from this type of behavior.
There was another comment that really stuck with me too.
Okay.
Someone said their brother was murdered over a gambling debt.
Oh, geez.
This really highlights the dark side of this addiction and how dangerous it can become.
Yeah.
Not just for the individual, but for those around them.
Right. But there were also stories of hope and recovery.
Oh, good.
One person shared how they overcame their gambling addiction with the support of their partner and Gamblers Anonymous.
They talked about the importance of therapy, accountability, and building a strong support system. It's a reminder that while the road to recovery can be long and difficult, it is possible. This story really highlights that recovery is possible, but it requires commitment
Yeah.
from both partners
For sure.
and a willingness to address the underlying issues.
You're absolutely right. It's clear from the Reddit post that the user loves her fiancé and wants to believe he can change. But she's also understandably terrified of what the future holds, especially with their wedding just around the corner.
Yeah, that's a valid fear.
Yeah.
And it's important to understand the psychology behind gambling addiction to better grasp the challenges they might face. It's not simply a matter of poor choices or a lack of willpower. It's a complex condition that affects the brain's reward system.
I'm curious to hear more about that. I think a lot of people, myself included, might not fully understand how addiction actually works on a neurological level,
When someone gambles, their brain releases dopamine.
which is a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward.
Okay.
Over time, the brain becomes accustomed to these dopamine surges, creating a powerful drive to continue gambling even in the face of mounting losses. It becomes less about winning money and more about chasing that feeling of reward.
So it's like a vicious cycle. The more they lose, the more they feel the need to gamble to get that dopamine hit, even if they know it's a losing battle.
Exactly. And what makes it even more difficult is that gambling addiction often distorts a person's thinking.
Oh, wow.
They may develop an illusion of control, believing they have a system or strategy that will guarantee them a win.
Right?
But the reality is that most forms of gambling are designed to favor the house, making long-term wins highly improbable.
That's what struck me about the user's fiancé. He told her he was trying to win it back, as if he could somehow outsmart the system and magically recover all the money he lost.
Yeah,
It sounds like he was trapped in that cycle of denial and delusion.
absolutely. And that's why simply telling someone with a gambling addiction to just stop isn't effective. They need professional help to address the underlying issues, learn coping mechanisms, and develop strategies to manage their impulses.
And that's where the community's advice about therapy and support groups comes in.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of people on Reddit were encouraging the user to push her fiancé to seek professional help.
Right, and for good reason. Therapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, can help individuals identify the triggers that lead to gambling, develop healthier coping mechanisms, and challenge the distorted thinking patterns that maintain the addiction.
Okay.
And support groups like Gamblers Anonymous provide a sense of community and accountability. They offer a safe space for people to share their experiences, learn from others who have been through similar struggles, and receive support on their journey to recovery.
I think it's important to emphasize that addiction is a medical condition,
It is?
not a moral failing.
Right.
It's a disease that requires treatment just like any other chronic illness. Shaming or blaming someone with a gambling addiction only adds to their feelings of guilt and isolation, which can actually make the addiction worse.
Yeah, that's a really important point, and it ties back to what we were saying earlier about the need for compassion and understanding.
Right.
If the user chooses to stay with her fiancé, she needs to approach the situation with empathy and a willingness to support his recovery journey.
It's not going to be easy, that's for
Mhm.
sure. But it is possible to rebuild trust and create a healthy relationship after addiction as long as both partners are committed to the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Building on that, let's consider the concept of financial infidelity,
Yeah,
which is a major theme in the Reddit responses.
right.
It's clear that the fiancé's gambling has caused a deep betrayal of trust in the relationship.
What's fascinating about financial infidelity is that it can be just as damaging to a relationship as any other form of betrayal.
Right.
It erodes trust, creates resentment, and can lead to feelings of insecurity and anxiety. And in this case, the financial infidelity is amplified by the fact that the money gambled away was intended for their wedding and future together.
Right.
It represents a direct violation of their shared goals and dreams.
It makes you question everything, right?
Mhm.
The user was blindsided by this revelation. She thought their relationship was solid, and now she's left wondering if she ever truly knew her fiancé at all.
Right.
It's a heartbreaking situation.
Absolutely. The deceit involved in hiding the gambling for a year makes it even harder for her to process what happened.
Yeah.
It blurs the lines between genuine love and manipulative behavior. She's left grappling with feelings of betrayal, anger, and confusion.
It's a lot to unpack emotionally,
Yeah.
and it's understandable why she's feeling so lost and overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It really is. And as we delve deeper into this situation, it's clear that there are no easy answers here.
Right.
The path forward will depend on a lot of factors,
Mhm.
including the fiancé's willingness to seek help, the user's capacity for forgiveness,
Yeah.
and their shared commitment to working through this together.
Exactly. And that's where those tough conversations come in.
Yeah.
They need to honestly discuss their expectations, their fears, and what they envision for their future. If they decide to move forward as a couple, professional therapy could be immensely helpful. It would give them a safe space to process their emotions, address underlying issues, and develop healthier communication patterns.
Several commenters on Reddit echoed that sentiment, suggesting both individual therapy for the fiancé to address his gambling addiction
Okay.
and couples therapy to help them rebuild trust and navigate this difficult situation as a team.
I think that's really sound advice.
Yeah.
Therapy can provide the tools and support they need to work through the trauma of financial infidelity and create a more stable foundation for their relationship.
It's important to acknowledge that recovery from addiction, especially when coupled with financial infidelity,
Yeah.
isn't a quick fix. It's a long and challenging process that requires commitment, patience, and understanding from both partners.
Absolutely. And as they navigate this process, it's crucial for the user to prioritize her own well-being.
Right.
Several commenters wisely advised her to protect herself financially, suggesting separate bank accounts and careful consideration before combining any assets in the future.
That's a practical and essential point.
It is.
It's not about punishing her fiancé,
Right.
but rather about creating a sense of security and agency for herself as they navigate this uncertain terrain.
Exactly. It's about empowering her to make informed choices and safeguard her own financial stability
Yeah.
as they embark on this journey of recovery and rebuilding.
Okay.
Ultimately, the decision of whether to stay or leave rests with the user. There's no right or wrong answer.
For sure.
It's a deeply personal choice that depends on her values, her capacity for forgiveness, and her belief in her fiancé's potential for change.
It's clear from her post that she's grappling with those very questions.
Yeah.
She loves this man and sees the good in him, but she's also been deeply hurt and betrayed by his actions.
Yeah.
It's a heart-wrenching dilemma.
It is.
Hey.
But what I find hopeful is that by sharing her story and seeking advice, she's taken a brave step toward healing and creating a better future for herself, whether that's with or without her fiancé.
You're right. And hopefully by listening to this deep dive, our listeners have gained a better understanding of the complex issues surrounding gambling addiction and financial infidelity. It's a reminder that even in the most challenging situations, there's always hope, there's always help available, and there's always a path forward.
I couldn't have said it better myself. We all face difficulties in our relationships, and sometimes those difficulties can feel insurmountable.
Right.
But by seeking support, communicating openly, and prioritizing our well-being, we can find the strength to navigate those challenges and create a more fulfilling and authentic life.
Such wise words. And on that note, we want to thank you, our amazing listeners,
Yes.
for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking. If you'd like to continue this conversation and explore more thought-provoking topics like this one, we encourage you to subscribe to Voices of the Soul and connect with us on YouTube at Pelage.
Please do.
We're passionate about bringing you these in-depth discussions, and your support truly means the world to us.
Thank you for being here with us.